In a world where every wonder kid is the next someone, this is the story of a kid who didn't even know if he'd make it out of Wisconsin. At 20 years old, born in Appleton, Wisconsin, son of Bosnian war refugees, today Esmir Bajraktarević is lighting it up for PSV and Bosnia and Herzegovina's national team. But just a few years ago, he was another teenager wondering if anyone would ever notice him. He's already played in the MLS, in the Champions League, and he's won in the Dutch League. And he's also scored for Bosnia in a World Cup qualifying match. But behind the hype, behind the headlines, is a story about long car rides, borrowed money, and a decision that broke one national team's heart, while giving another one hope. Appleton, Wisconsin. This isn't Madrid, it isn't London, no Ajax Academy, just a small Midwestern town where winters are long and football is something you play in the backyard. Esmir was born here in 2005, into a Bosnian family that had already survived more than most of us will in a lifetime. His parents are from Bosnia and Herzegovina, with roots that trace back to Srebrenica, and like many refugees, they rebuilt everything from zero in the United States. So to Esmir, football wasn't just a sport, it was a way to stay connected to home. Esmir started at SC Wave, a local club, and for a while, that might have been it. Because in America pay-to-play system, talent is not always enough. You need money, contacts, and time. In Esmir's case, something special happened. A family friend, the father of a teammate, saw how good he really was. He helped cover the registration fees. He drove him to Milwaukee several times a week, a round-trip travel that's over 200 miles, just so the kid from Appleton, Wisconsin could get better at football. Now think about that. Before the transfer fees, before the Champions League anthem, this story was powered by a second-hand car, gas money, and belief. Those miles built something you don't see on the stat sheets, and that's hunger. He spent time in the Chicago Fire Academy, then went back to the SC Wave, and then came the trial that changed everything, the New England Revolution. For most 16-year-olds, the idea of leaving home, crossing half the country alone to chase a dream, that's terrifying. But Esmir did it. He joined the Revolution Academy in 2021. By May 2022, he had signed his first professional contract. He started out with the Revs 2, working his way up with 36 appearances and 7 goals for the second team. No glamour, no viral clips yet, just cold nights, empty stands, and the pressure to prove that the kid from Appleton belonged in professional football. Slowly, he climbed. He made his first team debut in 2022, then his first goal in 2023. By 2024, he wasn't just a prospect. He was a key part of New England's attack, stacking up starts, goals, and assists, plus a record 4 assists in a single CONCACAF Champions Cup campaign. The kid people once drove hours just to get to training was now tearing up MLS defenses on live TV. That's when the next big question arrived. Not which club, but which country. Esmir worked his way through the United States youth teams, the U19s, U23s, and in January 2024, he even made his senior debut for the US men's national team in a friendly against Slovenia. For most players born in America, that's the dream. You've made it. You've reached the national team. But for Esmir, it just wasn't that simple. His family didn't just move from Bosnia. They fled war. They carried trauma, loss, and identity they never really left. And for Esmir, representing that story on the pitch mattered. So in mid-2024, he made one of the biggest decisions of his life. He filed a one-time switch to play for Bosnia and Herzegovina. No going back, no safety net. He turned his back on a growing role in the US system. At this time, Bosnia had not been doing very well since the 2014 World Cup. They've been plagued with injuries, inconsistency, and not much hope for the future. All that love and passion he had for the country, he still had hope that he could help turn things around. In September 2024, he debuted against the Netherlands, thrown straight into the Nations League A. On his debut, with one of his very first touches, he delivered a pinpoint cross for his childhood idol Edin Dzeko for the tap-in. A kid who used to play in his garden wearing a Dzeko shirt, now assisting him on the international stage. This moment would change everything for Esmir. In a tough night for Bosnia overall, that moment made him one of the few bright spots. And for a lot of fans in the diaspora, it was the birth of a new obsession. Some even started calling him Bosnia's Messi online. Half joking, half serious, but fully invested. Fast forward, and by late 2025, he's already made 12 appearances for Bosnia and scored his first international goal in a crucial World Cup qualifier win over Romania. That goal against Romania wasn't just important, but even fans all over the world online had even said this might have been the best goal of the entire European qualifying campaign. For Bosnian fans, this wasn't just a talented winger picking a national team. It felt like the son of the diaspora coming back home. Then came the moment that really put his name on the global football map. In late 2024, reports broke. Dutch giants PSV Eindhoven were ready to pay around $6 million plus a sell-on clause to bring Esmir to Europe. For New England, it was proof their academy could truly export talent. For PSV, it was a bet on a 19-year-old from a town most of Europe had never even heard of. At first, he was the classic eye test player. Silky on the ball, dangerous 1v1, and great technique. But questions were there. Can he handle the physicality? Can he defend in the European passing system? Can he be more than a highlights player? Over his first seasons, the answer slowly turned into a yes. By the end of 2025, he made 15 league appearances and scored 2 goals for PSV, plus minutes in the Champions League, including a debut away at Arsenal. He also won the Dutch league title and lifted the Johan Cruyff Shield, getting his first major trophies in Europe before turning 21. If you look deeper than goals and assists, the numbers are quietly insane. In the Dutch league, he averages a high pass completion from wide areas, plays multiple key passes per 90, and his expected assists per 90 put him among the most creative wide players in the league for his minutes. He's not just dribbling for TikTok. He's manipulating space, breaking lines, and making his teammates better. But even as he was growing at PSV, not everybody was convinced. In August 2025, Bosnia released their squad for the World Cup qualifiers against San Marino and Austria. We noticed one thing. Esmir's name wasn't on the list, and for many fans, it felt like a slap to the face. The explanation floating around was simple. He's got low minutes. He'd only just moved to PSV, still fighting for a consistent starting spot. On paper, it made sense, but fans saw a double standard, pointing out at other players with similar or even fewer minutes that still played in the squad. And then, football answered. On August 23, 2025, coming off the bench against Groningen, Esmir exploded. 2 goals and a brace. PSV 4, Groningen 2. This was a statement game. After the match, his veteran teammate, Ivan Perisic, posted a picture of them with a message to the national team coach that basically said, "Coach, the boy's ready. Step by step, the future is bright. Just patience and hard work." To fans, it wasn't just a caption, it was a challenge. Shortly after, fans noticed something else. That coach Sergei Barbarez no longer followed Perisic on Instagram. This might have been a coincidence, but in the court of the public opinion, the narrative was set. Tension, doubt, and pride and ego. On August 29, 2025, injury struck the squad. The Bosnian national team had a player go down, and Barbarez announced a change. They were activating the standby call for Esmir Bajraktarević. He was in, but as a replacement, not as a first choice. September 6th, away to San Marino, Esmir starts on the bench, but then he comes in the second half, and once again, he finds a familiar target. A neat combination, a smart pass, and Edin Dzeko scores. Another assist for his idol. 3 days later, against Austria, he comes on again. Not yet the main man, but the kind of a player you trust when you need something different. In October against Cyprus, we saw the next step. Brought on in a tense away match, Esmir unleashed a series of dangerous left-footed shots in the final minutes. One from a distance that forced a big save, another from the edge of the box that the keeper just managed to push away. He didn't score, but you could feel it. He was changing games and providing a positive impact. Then came November. Romania at home. A must-win if Bosnia wanted to stay alive in the race for the World Cup. This time, he didn't come off the bench. He started. And in the 79th minute, he did this. A curling, unstoppable strike from the edge of the box. 3-1 Bosnia. A win they absolutely needed. Fans didn't just celebrate the goal. Some even voted it the best goal of the entire European Cup qualifiers, as we mentioned previously. 3 days later, he started again in Austria. Bosnia drew 1-1. Unfortunately, Austria topped the group with 19 points and qualified automatically. But Bosnia finished second with 17 and booked a place in the World Cup playoffs. For a player who had been left out of the original squad just weeks earlier, this wasn't just a good run of form, it was vindication. But here's what makes Esmir different from so many next big thing stories. He's not built like a superstar, he's not from a famous academy, and he doesn't have a Hollywood backstory written by a PR team. He's the son of refugees from a small American town who graduated high school online because football demanded it. Whose family and friends literally drove him hundreds of miles just so he could play. He's also the kid who went from being left off the national team list, then to scoring the goal that kept the World Cup dreams alive. He's also a kid who had to choose between two flags. A country where he was born, and a country that survived genocide and now sings his name. He's proof that modern football isn't just about academies and agents. Sometimes it's about neighbors helping you pay registration fees, and long car rides where you stare out the window and wonder if this will ever be worth it. PSV has a type. They spot players just before everyone else wakes up. For example, like Ronaldo, Romario, and Robben. They arrive as potential and leave as problems for defenders across Europe. So where does Esmir fit in? He's not a finished product. He still needs to add more goals, more end product, and more consistency, but that does require more playtime. When you think about all that, that's the scary part. Even at this stage, he's already influencing games in the Dutch league, creating chances at an elite rate, and playing real minutes for a European champion and a national team chasing the World Cup. For Bosnia, he represents something bigger than numbers. He's the bridge between the homeland and the diaspora, between the kids who never left and the kids whose parents had to. So when you see number 19 for PSV cutting inside onto his left, or number 20 for Bosnia sprinting at a tired fullback late in a qualifier, remember this isn't just another talent. This is the story of long highways in Wisconsin, of a family that refused to let war define them, of a kid who turned gas money in a multi-million-dollar transfer, and of a player who said no to being comfortable, so he could say yes to something that actually meant something. For Esmir Bajraktarević, this isn't the peak. This is just the warm-up. If you've enjoyed this story and want more documentaries about the players shaping football's future, hit like, subscribe, and let me know in the comments. How far do you think Esmir can go? What type of stories interest you? What are your thoughts about this video itself? and any recommendations of what you'd like to hear in the future. I appreciate you if you tuned in this long, and I can't wait to talk to you on the next one. Thank you so much.